All right, guys, welcome back. We are now back in the same image here, and today we are going to talk about the dodge and burn tool, which I think is one of the most underrated tools in Photoshop. I use it all the time. It is what makes food and cocktail photography pop, and that is a tool that's right here. If you hover over it, let me see. There we go, the dodge tool. So dodge and burn tool is basically an exposure brush, right? So if you hold it down, you have access to the dodge or the burn. Right? So let's say we start with the dodge tool here, right? This will adjust the exposure of whatever you click on. And you can choose here, do you want to adjust the exposure of the shadows, the midtones, or the highlights? Again, that'll be chosen based on the part of the image that you want to affect and whether it's even needed. So for an image like this, right, this is a dark image, there's three different things that you're going to be able to work on here. You can bring up the shadows, you can bring up the midtones of the meat, or you could bring up or down the highlights of the highlights. Now, let's say for now, we just work with the dodge tool to raise exposure, right? Again, burn tool, lower the exposure, dodge tool, raise the exposure. So let's just start with the midtones, which is what you'll probably use the most. Now I can adjust obviously the size of my brush here. You can do that by adjusting here or by just hitting the brackets on the keys on the keyboard. So what I'll do is I will zoom in here. Let's say we want to make the steak pop a little bit more, right? So we'll go to the midtones, right? Midtones here. We will choose how strong we want the exposure to be of this brush. So if you were to turn this up all the way and you were to click, that's very strong. I click, too much. So we're gonna Command Z and undo that. Now, if we were to make it really low, like this, you'd be clicking and clicking and clicking forever. So what you want to do is find just like the happy medium. I usually keep it around 25%. Again, adjust it based on when you need it. So I'll come in here and I'll go click, 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 click. Brush it in just a little bit more, click, click, and now it already pops more. Let's see, I'm going to Command Z it a bit. See that? Bring it back. Now, I already made one mistake, and that is you should always duplicate the layer that you're working on in case you make any mistakes. You can revert back to the previous layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Command Z to store back where we are. Now I'm going to duplicate this layer here on the right. Boom. Like that. So we'll call this the original layer. And this will be the edited layer. Just call it that, right? So, okay, now we're here. So now, again, we're going to brush, click and brush, boom. It's a little too much. I'm going to go back a little bit. So now, before and after, look at that. Look at the difference on that, right? Let me zoom out a bit. What a difference of a pop in the image. Now, what else can we do? So we come in here. Let's say we want to maybe bring up some of the shadows in the background and even some of the shadows on the meat itself. So we go to the shadow. We're still in the dodge tool, which means raising exposure. Right, let's lower this a bit. And now if I click, you'll see it's changing a little bit of a different part of the meat. It's not exactly raising those midtones, it's raising the shadows. Again, before, after, right? And now we're a step in even further towards where we want to be. And I might do a little bit of the shadows in the background. So I'll paint there, So again, if you look at the background, see that? Look how much more we're seeing now in the image. Brighter tones. I think it's just really great. And then the final move here is the highlight option for the dodge tool. Now this is very strong. You'll see I'm at just, let's say if I'm at 25% with 100 being really too strong. If I just click and drag here, look at that. It already really overdid it here. It made it like so overly saturated and overexposed basically. And you don't want that. So what you'll do is you'll bring that down very slight. I'll bring this down a little bit, and I'll just paint in the areas I think could pop a little bit more, like right here just a little bit, here just a little bit, here. And then, especially this, I think this, which is the spice, I like to try to make that pop a bit. Now, let's look at the difference here. Look at that. From this, which is a great image already, to that. Pretty amazing. Now, the burn tool. Let's come over here, hold this down. Sometimes a part of an image is overly exposed and you want to bring down the brightness or reverse sort of this thing. So for right now, the highlights on her forehead are pretty bright because it was closest thing probably to the light. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slightly bring down the midtones. Now we're in burn, right? Midtones. And I'm going to click a little bit. So you see that? Let me zoom in a little bit. If I click here a bit, See, it brings it down. And you click it too much, she's orange. So maybe just one boom like that. The gloves don't need to be so bright, right? Like that. So again, completely different style of an image. Now, I might also bring it down here, these highlights on the squirrel area. So if I click here, I can slightly see it bringing it down a bit before, after. So what we're just doing is we're manipulating the exposure from the shadows, the midtones to the highlights using the dodge tool and the burn tool. This comes into handy big time when it comes to drinks. When you want to make the liquid pop, you want to make that green mint garnish pop. But I will almost always use these tools. This is like one of the biggest things to make an image change. I mean, from this to that, unbelievable. It works great in so many different ways. So that is the dodge and burn tool. Let's go on to the next thing.